What's up, everybody? We want to thank you again for watching Switch Talk, the perfectly pocket-sized podcast where we're going to be discussing all of Nintendo's latest and greatest games. This console and these games have stolen our hearts, and we're really excited to be playing everything that's coming out. Today, we're going to be discussing the much-anticipated Splatoon 2. Now, you're going to be hearing from me, who's a total noob. I think I'm going to post a spoof video about the first time that I touched the game, and it was hilarious. I didn't know anything about it. So you're going to get a newbie's perspective here, and I think Clay's a veteran. Is that right, Clay?
Yes, I like to think I am.
Excellent. And then, Dave, did you play Splatoon 1?
Yes, but I wouldn't call myself a veteran because I really didn't play it that extensively.
I see. So we're going to be doing a roundtable discussion. We'd like your input. Please go ahead and join us on Facebook if you just search for Switch Talk. And if you please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, just Google Switch Talk YouTube and it'll pop right up. And follow us on Twitter at SwitchTalk30. We try to keep our shows, again, short and sweet, 30 minutes or less. So we want you to fit us into your podcast repertoire, everything that you listen to. Go ahead and keep doing that, but just kind of squeeze us in there if you wouldn't mind. We really appreciate you guys. So, getting right down to it, David, Clay, co-hosts. I can't start off talking about this game. I'm too excited. I need my asthma pump. Where's my rescue inhaler? Why don't you guys kick it off? You know, whoever wants to take it. I can't.
You can go ahead, Clay, because I think I'm probably going to be the most negative, so you guys can go.
Negative.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll probably save your comments until the 25-minute mark. How about that? No, I love this game. I think it's brilliant. I think after Breath of the Wild, this is probably my favorite Switch game so far. I think it's a very strong contender for being one of the best out there right now. I don't know. It's interesting because when people ask me, all right, so what's so different about this one from the first one, I kind of have to take a step back and be like, there's this thing called Salmon Run, and that's very different. But really outside of that and these very small, minuscule things that people outside of the series wouldn't really value, there isn't that much that's been changed. There have been improvements, but like I said, they are smaller. And unfortunately, there are some things that I was hoping would be improved on that weren't. But I don't think that those things necessarily hurt the experience overall or hurt the game. But for new people coming into this, it's probably more of a hang up. Whereas for me, like, I'm used to it. And we can talk about those things in a little bit. But overall, I think it's a great experience. I think it looks better than the first one. I think everyone seems to agree with that. They've improved it visually quite a bit. And I still have tons of fun with it. And time just flies by when you're playing it. I think you get going, and all of a sudden, the next thing you know, they're changing out the levels. It's been 2 hours, and you're like, holy crap, where did the time go? But that's just kind of a really brief overall thoughts for me. So
that's really interesting because what's going on right now with, some people are calling it, Splatoon 1.5, that there wasn't too much different, and the questions always come, is it worth the purchase in that case? So coming from that perspective, long story short, would you say that it's definitely worth, jumping in again?
Definitely, and I think it's worth the full price. Obviously, the Wii U didn't sell as well and didn't have as big of an install base, and so I think having this game closer to launch and with the excitement buzzing around the Switch, I think this was a good time. I think rather than doing a Splatoon Deluxe and people getting all upset because we just got a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I think they were smart enough to say, hey, we can make this fresh and new enough that we can add a 2 to this. And so I think it's worth it just for the fact that everybody's playing, and it's a good time to get in because they're going to keep adding more content, and that worked really well last time, and I think that it's going to continue to work well. So
from my perspective, again, I didn't own a Wii U, and I kind of dismissed Splatoon immediately. It didn't even pique my interest where I wanted to learn about what may be unique about it. I didn't understand what I was in for. So I was just completely blown away, like pleasantly surprised. Besides the aesthetics and the poppy colors and the music that's just so catchy. I would say that the depth of the mechanics is really what pulled me in, because I didn't understand when I started that the ink and the movement and the weapons and the power-ups, how everything mix. And then once I really fell into it, it really grabbed me. And that's one of the things that I look for in my gaming period, is that there's some level of depth there, that there is that strategy. And then when you add in, again, like we were talking about with ARMS, the online mechanic, then you can get competitive with it because it has that solid base. I think if you're coming into this fresh from not playing the Wii U, from not playing Splatoon 1, then you're going to be, pretty blown away. Or maybe not, David.
Okay, you want my thoughts now?
Oh, yeah. Tear it up.
Yes.
Tear it
So-
up.
so-
We blew it up way too much. Just
So yeah, I think definitely, like someone from your perspective who's never played the first one, I think coming in they're going to enjoy it quite a bit more. It feels like a really weird in between. I'm not sure if 1.5 is accurate because it feels like a little bit more of an improvement than that, but to me it doesn't feel like it warrants a 2 in front of it either. It feels like every single thing is improved. It is massively better than the first game. But there was a lot of things about the first game I felt that I forgave because it was, this is the first title in the series. And you sort of expect for a true sequel to actually evolve a bit more than it actually does. And where this does, it just makes every single thing better. So it just pretty much takes almost everything that was in the first game and improves the design tenfold, which I guess if you really, really liked the first game, you'll really, really like this. But I always found the first game to be a somewhat flawed experience in some ways. I really love the core gameplay hook of Splatoon. Like, I think controlling it, going around in the ink, everything about that is a joy to play. The music's great, the graphics are great. I love all of that stuff. One of my issues with the first one is the campaign I didn't think was very good. They have improved that, and I do actually really like the campaign this time around, and I think that's probably the biggest improvement. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to play Salmon Run yet, and that's actually goes into one of my biggest complaints about the game, is the timed content, which I ended up being very busy this weekend, so I didn't get a chance to try it out. And then when I wanted to play it last night, I couldn't because it was a timed event. And that type of thing really extremely annoys me. When I pay full price for a game, I expect all of its content to always be available. And I find it really frustrating when games sort of go into this sort of timed event thing where they expect you to sort of put your life around the game rather than you squeeze content in the game around your life, especially as like a busy, married adult. I found that to be rather irritating. My other complaint is probably almost the same thing, as I think there should be more than 2 maps in rotation. I don't like going back and forth repeatedly between 2 maps. I like there being sort of excitement of what map's going to come up next, and I was like, it's 50-50.
But there are more than 2 maps at a time.
Are they?
Well,
once you hit level 10, you unlock the other mode, which has the different gameplay.
Right.
I can't remember what it's called.
If you're playing essentially the same playlist, though, you're only going to have 2 in that playlist, right?
Right, but at any point after you hit level 10, you have 4 different or 2 sets of 2 maps to choose from.
Fair enough.
And
but
it's so.
I don't,
I
don't see why there couldn't be a
though.
full playlist in each one of those. Or at least more. Like, maybe you have certain maps for this mode, certain maps for this mode, and I get like 5 each at least. So
yeah, I feel like less maps, though, helps you learn the map quicker, though. Because I think just playing through this weekend alone, I've already got a pretty good hold on all the maps, the new ones and the old ones. Because for 2 hours, you're only playing them like 50-50. Yes, it's very annoying when you play the same level 4 times in a row, and that happens, and I agree that is annoying. But I think it's nice because you get to finally kind of figure out a level. Whereas when you play Call of Duty, you have so many maps to choose from, and it's kind of random, even if you get to vote. That there's certain maps I feel like, I've played this game for 20 hours, and I still feel like I've barely played whatever level.
Yeah, that I will agree that is one flaw if you have all the maps at once. Is sometimes there's just maps that everyone hates and everyone skips, and you never get to see them. But at the same time, I feel more encouraged to play longer when there's more. Like, if I hit the same map 4 in a row, the chances of me quitting and doing something else start to increase each time that happens, because I want more variety. Another thing is I do still think, since the very first game, I felt that the kills should matter more in this game. I understand it's Nintendo and they didn't want to go that route, and they want everything to be turf war or various objectives, but I feel like still a lot of people still go for in any objective-based competitive shooter I've played, everyone goes for kills more than objectives, and I wish there was a mode for that, and at very least it filters people out who just want to kill people. And
there are modes for that, dude.
Well, I think that David just has such a strong bloodlust. He just could not.
Yes.
He could not handle turf war.
What mode are you referring to? Because I have not played all of them yet because I'm not level 10 yet.
Okay, so once you hit level 10, man, I cannot believe I can't think of what the name is for it.
I think it's just ranked.
You unlock
it goes ranked.
Ranked mode?
Yeah, it's just ranked.
Ranked mode. And so you have, yes, here they are. Thank you. Yeah, ranked and league battles. And so in ranked battles, you have Rainmaker, Tower Control, and Splat Zones.
Okay.
And so Splat Zone, it picks a specific area in the center of the map, and you have to ink that entire area, and then you have to hold it. So nobody's worried about, covering a bunch of ground. They're going straight to the center of the map and battling. Rainmaker, you all battle for this giant weapon, and then once you get that weapon, you just run around killing people, and you have to hold on to that weapon for a certain amount of time to win. And then Tower Control is like a moving King of the Hill of sorts, and you're all trying to get on that tower and kill the people on it. So it's there. It's just, it's not the main mode. So I still hear what you're saying.
Well, yeah, because still most of those are still kind of variants of, like, other different objective-based modes. I'm talking more about there being kind of a free-for-all option where the main purpose is to rack up a score by doing kills.
Like a team deathmatch traditional.
Yeah, like a team deathmatch or even a free-for-all or something like that. Because it's still the score hook, and these other modes are still, based upon an objective. And that's just what I'm saying. I wish there was something a little bit more like that. But I'm not trying to be too negative because I do think that the core of the game is really, really fun. I think I expected them with it being the sequel that they would go a little bit farther with the additional modes and the campaign, which I really love. I still think it, as far as a first-party Nintendo campaign, it still feels a little. I get it is kind of probably an afterthought because they get the main hooks, they get a multiplayer game, but I still would have preferred it to be a little bit more. Less feel like a build. I don't know how to describe it because it feels a little bit like build and blocky in some ways.
Right.
Yeah, a little bit more feel like a little bit more immersive and less like a 3D Mario level or something. But I still think it's a lot of fun, and I do think, especially if you haven't played the first one, I think I would absolutely recommend it because it's a really fun series. The gameplay is there. But if you have Splatoon 1, I'm not sure. I think it's going to be up to how much you enjoy it. I would say if you really love the first one and you're dying, even just to have an improved version with better levels, better campaign, better graphics, then yeah, absolutely pick it up. If you're kind of lukewarm on the first one, then I think you might want to maybe, rent it or play it at someone else's house before you decide whether to play it. As far as the multiplayer options on the Switch right now, I think it's probably my least favorite. I think ARMS I enjoy the multiplayer in ARMS better. Online anyway. I know you guys might not agree with me, but I thought the online was like really flawless in ARMS. And,
I'm ready to jump back into ARMS a little bit too. It's interesting because just today I was able to play. I was playing a lot of ranked, after unlocking it. So, Turf War got me hooked on ranked, and then the objectives kind of flipped everything, and I fell in love again. And then I went to the campaign, and just like you said, David, I think that it's great, and it's fun, and it's kind of designed to let you get a real good taste of everything in the game and,
right.
play with all the weapons, and everything's kind of big and bombastic and all that. And, it has a lot of the charm and personality of, the characters in the world gets to come out. But it is kind of by the numbers. It is kind of linear. And I thought about Mario the whole time as well. It's like, here's the stage, here's the hook of the stage, and then you're kind of in there and then you're out. Other shooters, I think, got into this more of a sandbox, type atmosphere with their campaigns where it's like, you can approach it this way or that way, but this, it's like, you must do this, and this is how we want you to have fun. And I think that translates to beyond the campaign to the multiplayer, because just like with the curated playlists and you being able to only play 2 maps per mode, and then them rotating every 2 hours, and the Salmon Run game mode, only one of the only new additions, like being open only sometimes on a schedule. It's so much of the game is odd choices, and there's a couple more of them that I'd like to hit on, but I thought it was super interesting that it's all very structured fun. So when we missed Salmon Run the other day, we were talking, and it's all like, oh, it's on us, we didn't adhere to the fun schedule, and I thought that was kind of very odd. It does hurt the game. I think overall, when you look at it, I think player choice is something that we've come to expect and want, but Nintendo believes that they know better, and that's something that I just can't totally get over. And I do, wish, what's the harm in there being a team deathmatch mode? Maybe it'll split the player base a little, but there's not that many, modes going on. So overall, it bothers me.
A lot of times Nintendo does legitimately know best, and they're like, yeah, people didn't ask for this, but we know what we're doing. And then once people get their hands on it, then it works. And then they sort of justify it. So every time they make a bad decision, they just justify it by all the good ones they did. And
it's a genius game. I mean,
sometimes it works out for them. Sometimes it annoys me.
Yeah, whoever came up with it, with the movement and the weapon, like the ink is the damage dealer, but also the movement enabler. Having the 2 modes. It's very unique in gaming. I mean, is this a shooter, or is it like a shooter plus? I think they've done enough to the mechanics of using the ink and the weapons and the power-ups and the modes. Just the ink itself, just kind of the way that it affects everything is just, again, just incredibly fresh. And I gotta recommend the game just because it's something different and good at the same time.
And I must say,
let me jump in real quick because, sorry, you guys are talking about, things Nintendo chooses to add in this or leave out. And so I want to kind of defend them here for a minute. And I know you guys are saying there should be a death match, and I know a lot of people say I should be able to, switch weapons during a match or at least in between matches. I know a lot of people are saying,
defend that.
Dave. Oh, I will. I think a lot of people are also saying that, why is everything on a timer? Why do I have to wait so long to get this? And the thing is, this is completely different than everything else when we think of shooters. If you want to go and do team death matches, go play Call of Duty or Halo. If you want to be able to play every map, go play those games. This is something completely different, and I think that they want to be known for this. They want you to look at your phone, pull up the app, and go, what time is it? Salmon Run unlocks in 2 minutes, and I want to play. I'm going to be there. Or, oh, it's almost 2 o'clock, so there's going to be new maps. I didn't like the ones earlier, but I'm going to jump on now. And as far as the weapons go, they want you to go into a match not knowing what your other teammates are going to have, and you're in the team opposite of you. They don't want you planning to take down a team because you know what they have, and so you all pick something to team up on. I don't know. I don't know all the answers, but I feel like there's reasons they've done it, and clearly by having this be the second game and they haven't changed a lot of those things, it's probably not ever going to change. They've probably said this is the way we want to be. It's unique, it's different, and this is the way we want to do it. I've come to terms with it all. Salmon Run was not open yesterday. We couldn't play it, which sucked, leading up to recording today. But guess what? It's open right now, and so I'm sure as soon as those gates open, everybody was like, let's go do that, because we only have so much time to do that. Whereas the normal multiplayer is always open. What do you guys want to talk about?
I think what impressed me about Salmon Run, which is the new horde mode of the game, what I liked about it is, well, first of all, they did the typical, well, I'm saying typical, like I've known Splatoon forever, but they did the Splatoon thing and added another layer to it where it's not just waves of enemies coming and it's also what they drop has to be strategically brought back to the goal. So you go and kill them for their eggs and bring it back to the main goal in order to score. And it gives you a threshold of 3 eggs to bring back, but you could also, conquer and get double points, triple points, whatever you want to do. And I think that there's that hook there of doing as good as you can on the timer. And again, it's short matches, so I think that there's something to that horde mode to me gets kind of boring, where it's like, okay, I'm conquering the enemy, but you're making kills but also racking up scores by bringing it back, and I really like that. The other thing that I really liked about Salmon Run was the enemies that you do kill in order to get the scoreable eggs to bring back to the goal. They're like mini boss enemies. They have some type of hook to them. Some of them have to be shot quickly. Some of them you have to quickly dodge, before you can open up on them. And then they just look cool. Like the one that has a looks like a robotic snake that's like dropping ink everywhere, and you have to shoot the tail. It just felt like you never knew what was coming up next. So the boss that I'm going to call it a mini boss, so that you kill, they just look cool. They each had a hook, and you did have to kind of stay on your toes. The other thing that it does in combination with that is it starts you with a weapon. Again, it's like, here's how you're going to have fun this round, because this is the weapon we're giving you. So everyone on the team every round gets a new weapon. So again, you're always adapting, and I think that you had some great insight there, because when you're unable to switch weapons in the other modes, maybe that is a little more fun, because you don't have to find the best weapon and the best team combination set up and just run with it. Maybe there is going to be more legs to the game because of that randomness. And I didn't really think that through. I think that that's a pretty good defense that you're laying down for them. So does that sound interesting to you at all, David, the Salmon Run mode, from what you've heard? Again, it's kind of like horde mode.
Honestly, Salmon Run was one of the things I was most excited about going in, because I do actually enjoy horde modes, and I like co-op. So I thought that it would be actually quite a bit of fun, where I was never really super in love with the multiplayer of the original game. This sounded like something really cool to draw me in, and I haven't actually played it yet, but because I think initially that was literally the first thing I tried to do, and then I realized like, oh, I have to be level 4, so then I went and played the campaign for a little bit, and then last night couldn't play it, so hopefully I'll get a chance, and I'll let you guys know more of what I think of that. But it does look pretty cool.
I think it delivers, dude. I think you'll be happy with it. I think everything that they've shown up to launch, I think, was a pretty fair, what you're going to get kind of thing. And so I'm definitely happy with it. I think it's great. It's the perfect thing to kind of get away from online battle, because I do get frustrated playing online sometimes, most of the time. And so sometimes it's nice to just kind of walk away from that and, play with a team. And sometimes your teammates, they're not very good, and it's frustrating. But overall, I just think it's a super fun experience. It's something different. I agree with you, Tony. I love that they just assign you a weapon, and each day that they're open, it's like a different variety of weapons. And so the other day I was looking at it, I was like, oh, cool. The weapons tomorrow are like way different than what we've used so far. And sometimes I get stuck with like the bucket, and it kind of sucks
with the
sometimes
bucket.
Because
I love that thing.
Dude, you can't hit like certain things that are up high. You can't throw at it. So sometimes certain things are a little more difficult, but it makes you have to adapt.
Survive,
and so I like that.
Adapt.
Exactly. Get better with the weapon, and then eventually move on from it. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention about this is the thing I love most about this is there's still things that are happening that I haven't seen happen yet in this game. Because basically every round it changes, the conditions, fog. There's some other stuff I don't want to spoil. But even my buddy texted me today and said, dude, I just had something happen to me in Salmon Run that I haven't seen happen yet, and I know you haven't seen it yet. So I think they did a good job diversifying it. I think that as far as we know there's only like 2 different levels, but between them there's like different things that happen, and it does progressively get more difficult. And so it started out really easy, and I was like, oh, this is a little too easy. But now I played the other day, and we lost like all 4 times in a row. So I think it definitely ramps up in difficulty as you get higher up there. But the rewards get better, obviously. So anyway, I highly recommend it. I think it was a very good success, and so I was very happy with that. Now, as far as the controls, when I played the first Splatoon, I turned the motion controls off immediately, like a lot of people do, and I just played it with like a 2-stick shooter. And once again, I don't think that's the way that they intended this game to be made or played. And so this time, I was like, you know what? Everyone I've read that says that they stick with the motion controls loves it, so I'm going to stick with the motion controls. It took me about a day of playing it, but now I really like it, and I think it's the closest you can get to having, like, you know how first-person shooters on a computer, they're always way better because they have a mouse. I think this is the closest you will get to like having a mouse on a console as far as like first-person shooters or shooters in general go. I know Dave's going to disagree with me, but if you're listening or watching this, give it a shot. Give it a day. It takes a little time to get used to, but I guarantee it's very nice for those quick movements where you're like 3 feet from somebody, and your hands kind of take over and your thumbs just kind of are along for the ride. I think it works really well. So
I turned those off so fast. I mean, I gave it a day, more than a day. So once I turned them off, I got infinitely better. And I don't think that I'm going to stick with it. I saw a couple polls online with people also turning off motion controls. And again, when we spoke about it, you were trying to explain exactly kind of how. And it's so hard, obviously something like that to translate, because you're talking about how it kind of feels and how quick you can be with adapting. So with your aim, and I don't know, I think that I'm glad that you can turn them off and it's not going to make or break anything. I mean, maybe in the end I am gimping myself, and people who do play with motion controls on are going to just be, slightly better. But I don't think that it's anything that's game breaking. Which is nice.
It depends on how good they are with them. But yeah, someone who's really good with motion controls is going to have an advantage. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I turned them immediately off too. It a little bit bothers me that there's that break in controls, because that can theoretically put players on a different playing field. I guess theoretically it doesn't, because they can all just play with, learn to use the motion controls, and then everyone will be even. But, that's one of the things with PC setups that I've never really cared about or cared for, is that everyone has a different piece of equipment, so everyone's almost on a different playing field. The guy with like the professional $300 gaming mouse with all the hotkeys built in is probably going to do better than some dude who's playing with a USB controller plugged in. So yeah, I get why it's there, and it's their choice. They think it's better, and it arguably is, but I don't think it's as fun as the twin stick controls, and I think a lot of people are going to turn them off. So I'm willing to play less good and enjoy myself more, and that's usually the way I feel in games. I don't care. I'm enjoying myself with the twin sticks way more. So
all right, guys,
whatever.
So we got to wrap up. I thought it was super interesting that, as Clay kind of defends Nintendo, we were talking about like the map rotation. It's like, oh, there's 2 maps for this game mode, and then it's like the glass is half full or the glass is half empty, but instead, like, Clay was like, no, there's 2 glasses and they both have half water, so you pour them all into 1 cup and you're fine. Like, it was just so odd, but I get it.
And I don't want to fully defend Nintendo, because they did come out with a hideous, awful app for our phones.
How long did we use
voice
the app?
chat on.
How long did we use the app when we tried it?
For about a minute and a half before we switched over to Skype,
Yeah,
I
just
think.
stick with
I
Discord.
downloaded the app and literally never used it because I saw how bad it was and it seemed pointless.
I will say Splatnet on there is very good, but the actual voice chat part sucks. But the actual thing where you can look at the levels, you can look at everything, you can buy extra clothing, that part I think A+, super good. But yeah, the voice chat part is really stupid. I could spend another 30 minutes just talking about that, but
Yeah,
I know we're out of time.
It's a given. I think if you play the game or you heard anything about it, it's way too hard to join up with friends and communicate. It would be nice with a game that can be so strategic, where the actual official app would enable that, but you can still do it. Stick with a third party, go Skype or Discord, and you can do it. So communication and having friends definitely improves this game. It's just, it's more fun to splat with friends and destroy your buddies. The way that the lobbies work sometimes, and jumping in and out and not allowing you to leave, and you have to wait until the next match. It gets kind of annoying, but it does have flaws. But overall, you heard it here from Switch Talk. It is a game that you definitely should try out. Pick up Splatoon 2. Oh, I forgot to mention, I got my first amiibo. It pushed me to buy my first amiibo.
That's your first
My very first amiibo. And it's so cool.
So proud.
Isn't it cool?
It is very cool.
Really cool.
As soon as I saw the Splat thing. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Signing off. That's all, folks.
Peace.